The signing of Kylian Mbappé was supposed to take Real Madrid over the top. Sure, people pointed out that they like to play in similar areas on the pitch even prior to Mbappe's move. That was one of the main talking points, given how Vinicius elevated himself to one of the best players in the world during the whole will he won't he period of the drawn-out Mbappé saga. And typically, good players find a way to play with other good players, but that hasn't panned out just yet. They haven't been able to pick up where Vinicius and Benzema had left off, which was the hope, right? Well, to be honest, I think a lot of supporters were hopeful that they would take it to even greater heights, but
if you look at Real Madrid's attack, it often looks misguided.
No, this is not the most useful stat because there are so many other ways two players can be effective together on the pitch, other ways they can still be dangerous together, but when looking at Mbappe and Vinicius's joint goals together, as in directly setting each other up, they have done so 6 times in 26 appearances together, as of the time of recording this.
It's not where it needs to be for this team to succeed. But I also think in a lot of ways it's overblown.
And by the way, that's Kian Sobani.
Hi, Carlo. Kian Sobani for Managing Madrid.
Brilliant journalist and one of the most requested guests here on the channel. And he's right. It's overblown to the point where some supporters are even calling for Ancelotti to bench Vinicius Jr. But when you look at Real Madrid lately, injury issues and defense aside, which absolutely do affect things, and we will speak about them, there's still something off. As with anything, there's no single reason why something isn't functioning as it should at a football club. Teams that win frequently are so impressive because they are able to do something exceptional, make a collection of contributing factors all click together to find success. To do that regularly is insane. So let's explore why one aspect of Real Madrid isn't clicking, the most high profile of all, their superstar attack. Because let's remember, they're still top of La Liga, and they're still in the Champions League. But there are watchful eyes on them, people trying to spy a problem to report to the media, just like people are trying to steal your data and personal information to sell it to marketing firms. Use it to steal your identity, or even collaborate with health insurance providers to be used as determinants of health. Nasty work, but thankfully, our sponsor for this video, Incogni, is here to scrub your presence off of the internet. Come on, that was a smooth transition. In many countries, you have the right to have your data deleted from these lists that lead to more junk mail, more spam calls, or the more nefarious things mentioned earlier. But actually going through with it, actually getting your info evaporated, Thanos'd, as is your right, it's an annoying process, and there's often pushback. It can take months of your life. But luckily, Incogni is here to take care of all of this, taking care of the entire process of deleting your name, address, phone number, and whatever else they can from any public search sites, any data brokers lists, robocallers, whatever. So if you want to get back to a private life, just go to incogni.com/RabonaTV, and doing so will get you 60% off of an annual subscription. Incogni.com/RabonaTV, and make your data and personal info private again.
Always dreaming about this type of nights, and now it's a reality.
Things started so promisingly in competitive matches, with Mbappe scoring in his competitive debut against Atalanta in the UEFA Super Cup. But then he went goalless in his first 3 La Liga matches. Even when he began scoring, he still didn't look like himself, and people were jumping up and pointing at their TV saying, "Ha! I told you it won't work."
The reality is, like, at the beginning of the season, and it seems like so long ago that I think people actually forgot that this was a phase of the season. Vinny was playing great and was putting chances on a platter for Mbappe. Like, I'd be very curious to see what is like the expected assist number, specifically Vinny to Mbappe, like in the first few months of the season, because Vinny was putting these incredible passes into the box to Mbappe right where he wants them, like right where you want Mbappe to get on the end of chances, and Mbappe was just missing them.
As mentioned by Kian, Vinicius was actually playing very, very well in the early part of the season. I mean, in the first 10 La Liga matches, looking back at it, there was only one match where he failed to have a goal contribution. He had 5 goals and 6 assists in those 10 games. But then later on, he picked up an injury that ruled him out for a few games. And then on his return, he got that red card against Valencia and was suspended for 2 more matches. He was suspended in the Champions League as well due to yellow card accumulation. It's been very stop-start for Vinicius, a bit of a weird one. But at the time Vinicius was doing well, Mbappe was struggling to find himself. Understandable, these guys are unbelievable footballers for sure. but they're still human, like you and I. They're still affected by human things.
Some people think this is like doomed, like for the next 4 or 5 years. This will never work. Vinny and Mbappe cannot coexist. I don't think that's the case. I think we've seen flashes of it. I think Mbappe has yet to hit his stride because that's understandable. He's in a new league. He's in a new country. He's starting to adapt. He was low on confidence. He had some off-field issues. So once he gets going, I think this will improve. I think this is just one of those things that you have to be patient with. I know it's hard to be patient at Real Madrid because it's a club that demands winning from day one. There is no patience here. We need to win now. We need to win now. We can't win 2 years from now. We need to win now. But this is the reality of a situation where you have, young stars trying to find their feet, trying to coexist, trying to adapt. You just have all these things that are going to be working against you that will prevent you from establishing from day one the exact synergy you need.
Synergy is something that Vinicius had with Benzema. It's something that he had with Bellingham, with Rodrigo, but with Mbappe, it hasn't come easily. It hasn't come right away. As I said in the intro, people assumed that Mbappe and Vinicius would find a way to immediately destroy every team in their path, that they would be an even better duo than Vinny and Benzema had become, and they would do it instantly. But when things aren't at those heights, and Mbappe was, as he admitted, at his lowest point, people were ready to throw the baby out with the bathwater. What fed that narrative that they can't play together because they occupy the same space even more, with Vinicius out of the team for the reasons mentioned before, we began seeing Mbappe start to play better and better and resemble the dude from PSG. But Kylian still doesn't see the fight for the left as an issue. In fact, it could be a strength in the future.
I think it actually benefits them that they like to play on the left more because they'll be able to be in close proximity with each other in order to break lines, in order to kind of combine with each other, link up, kind of the way Benzema and Cristiano used to, the way Benzema and Vinny used to. Mbappe's profile is not dissimilar to Benzema. I mean, the one thing that he doesn't have over Benzema is the aerial ability, and he doesn't have the defensive awareness and pressing ability that Benzema had. But he does have the link-up ability.
Espanyol have taken the lead with just over 5 minutes left.
There has been a rise of people saying that perhaps Vinicius needs to be benched, especially after the recent Espanyol loss. Why? Because it just so happened that when he returned to the lineup, Real Madrid struggled to score, whereas it was coming so easily to them prior.
I think kind of a bigger, interesting talking point is Rodrigo, who's, like Rodrigo and Mbappe, when they played together, it's looked a little bit better. But the other thing, Adrian, I want to say is that there's been a lot of talk that maybe you need to bench one of these guys or you need to bench Vinny, which is an impossible situation. Like, even if you wanted to, even if it was like scientifically proven that this team would operate better with Rodrigo on the left, Mbappe down the middle, and Vinny on the bench, it's an impossible scenario. This is not going to be happening. So you have no choice but to figure this part out.
But even within that Espanyol match, while his overall performance wasn't up to standard, Vinicius was still effective.
The reality of that Espanyol game, which is the one where I think a lot of people kind of like it caused them to just go over the edge with this whole Vinny needs to be sold to Saudi Arabia for 300, 400, 500 million kind of business. The reality of that Espanyol game was that Vinny did score a goal that was incorrectly disallowed. The team was denied a penalty, and so in another universe, Real Madrid win that game 1 or 2-0.
So in Kylian's opinion, it's not really an occupying the same space issue. It's not really a too many cooks in the left flank issue, as the famous saying goes. It's more that there has been a collection of little things that have worked against them when it comes to playing together and playing well together. Mbappe's initial loss of form, Vinicius' injuries and suspensions, Vinicius now not being in form, but they'll figure it out because
they have skills that complement each other, because we've seen Mbappe coexist with Neymar, we've seen Vinny coexist with Benzema, and so we've seen kind of iterations of a duo like this with them involved to know that it can work, and that's the reason I'm pretty optimistic about it, to be honest with you.
And you know what could help even more? As I was speaking with Kylian, I started to think, well, hang on. Ancelotti has made tactical tweaks in the past that have helped Real Madrid to figure things out on the pitch. He had to do it last season to get the most out of Jude Bellingham and make their attack work without a true number 9 in Benzema's absence. He's done this before, but his approach lately has just been the good old vibes approach in the attack. These guys are pros. Not just that, they're some of the best attacking minds on the planet, so who am I to tell them how to play in the attack, right? But sometimes when things aren't working, even the best players could still use some instruction. So does it fall on Ancelotti?
Yeah, this is a real thing. Like, this is probably the more interesting question to me than, like, should Vinicius be benched? The question of direction and where you can look to organize a team like this, and you can start asking, like, more theoretical questions, like, would another manager come in and with this exact same squad maximize it better? Like, should a team with Vinny and Mbappe and Jude and Rodrigo be scraping by 1-0 or not scoring at all, or when coming up against a good team being outscored 9-2 against Barca over 2 games? Or you think about Milan and Liverpool, like, and you want to factor in all those games, like the margin is even more. If you look at Real Madrid's attack, it is often looks misguided. Like, there are players just making random runs, interfering with each other. There is redundancy with the passing, with the off-ball movement. And I think this team, just on paper, regardless of the lack of depth in defense, is just way too good to be playing this way. And I think that's a fair criticism.
Now, Ancelotti has always held this belief that you let the players have freedom of expression in the final third, and in doing so, you open the door to brilliance. When you remove the constraints, you allow players to fulfill their genius. When you have these great players, you want them to express themselves, right? I mean, Cristiano Ronaldo said that he doesn't really work on tactics in training. But when something isn't working, you'd hope a change would be made in order to, well, change things. And Ancelotti has been stubborn in doing so. To be fair to him, he has also been let down by the club when it comes to having the proper squad building, as the issues at the back have led to issues going forward.
First, you need to fix your defense to create those transition opportunities. So forget about pressing. Real Madrid can't press for the life of them. They'd have a coach who's never implemented a successful press at this club. There have been spells, but nothing consistent. And obviously a forward in Kylian Mbappé who also does not press or defend. So you can't press with this team. And the other issue is the team has been so bad defensively, and they have not been compact. They have not been great at winning balls in midfield or being in position to actually counterattack. Depending on who the wing backs are, like if Ferland Mendy's on the field, you know that you're not going to get any overload to create space for Vinny on that left side, for example. So much of Real Madrid's history relies on incredible generational, like some of the best wing backs in football history played for Real Madrid, and there's so much reliance on fullback production, and right now is about as bad as I can remember it from a fullback standpoint. Like probably since, I don't know, like 2006, 2007, like that era, this is probably the worst it's been.
But there are two players that Ancelotti has been reluctant to look to in order to facilitate some change in the midfield and the attack. Now, of course, it's difficult to lose Toni Kroos and have an aging Modric that can't play as he used to. Those are two massive pieces of Real Madrid's success in the past, and their lack of availability, I guess I'll say, are both lost fairly close to each other. You still have Modric, but he's not the same Modric. But there's one guy in the squad who has shown recently that he can step up and provide the creativity, vision, and the ability to execute on both of those things in the midfield, and that is
Dani Ceballos. I think really needs to play from a ball progression standpoint, because you really don't have anyone who can drop into that quarterback role deep and play those vertical passes, because like Jude is very good at moving between the lines and getting into position to receive the pass, but someone needs to be able to pass it to him in those situations, and Ceballos is the only one who can do it.
But there's someone else who can do it from a wide position, someone I love spreading propaganda about. A certain Turkish winger who has been fed scraps when it comes to his overall playing time, in spite of the attack needing a spark and at times the right flank being open.
Arda Güler has been kind of cast on like just the outskirts of the rotation. He has the vision and the passing execution to play some passes that we need, that we don't have right now. Like our right wingers right now, whether it's Rodrigo or Brahim, great line breakers, they work hard on defense. They don't quite have the same vision and passing ability as an Arda Güler to see the pass that no one else can see and pull it off. I'm not saying Arda Güler should start every game and do all this stuff, but there are clear games like the Espanyol loss just on the weekend where his profile actually would have made sense.
You know that I agree with him there. Card-carrying member of the Arda Güler fan club over here. But this video is not about my love for Arda Güler. It's about Real Madrid's attack and how that has affected their season, right? But the funny thing about all of this, they're still doing well. But you can't shake this feeling of them underachieving. They have problems, but they're still technically capable of winning it all.
It's kind of on the brink of greatness, but also there's enough problems to make you think like this should have been thought out way better from a squad construction standpoint, but also we're not really maximizing the pieces we have.
Because as we all know, Real Madrid is a team that just finds a way to win, even when they aren't at their best. You can never count them out, which is what, even as a neutral, as a guy who supports as a guy who supports Benfica, it's always impressive to me how they're able to pull off what I mentioned earlier, making a broad collection of contributing factors all click together to find success. And again, to do that regularly is insane. A huge shout out to Kian for his help here. Great to finally have him on the channel, as I know a few of you have been asking for me to get him on here whenever I cover Real Madrid. Wish granted. But other than that, guys, we're all wrapped up here. Thanks for watching. It's greatly appreciated, and I'll see you in another video. Take care.